Have you ever crossed paths with someone and instantly felt they were meant to be a part of your life? It doesn't have to be love at first sight. Sometimes it's a friendship that feels like you've known each other for years, a partnership that clicks effortlessly, a mentor who shows up just when you need guidance, or even a complete stranger whose timing feels almost orchestrated. Was it pure coincidence or something deeper at work? Maybe it's a moment that resonates so strongly with your inner world that it's hard to explain in logical terms. In this video, we'll explore Carl Jung's fascinating perspective on meaningful connections, why certain people seem to be woven into the fabric of our lives as if by design. We'll look at the influence of the unconscious on who we're drawn to, discuss the concept of synchronicity as a sign of deeper alignment, and learn how to distinguish a genuine, soul-level connection from a beautiful illusion. And along the way, we'll wrestle with the most important question of all. Before you go searching for your person, have you truly taken the time to meet yourself? Because sometimes the connection you've been waiting for begins the moment you stop looking outward and finally turn inward. Carl Jung and the deeper meaning of human connections. Carl Jung didn't buy into the idea of just coincidences. From his perspective, the people and events that appear in our lives often carry a deep, symbolic message, whether we recognize it or not. Every encounter reflects something inside of us, frequently something buried in the shadows of our unconscious mind. When you meet someone and they feel oddly familiar, like you've known them forever, Jung called that synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence. It's that rare, almost mystical moment when your inner world collides with outer reality at precisely the right time. These moments aren't accidents. They become mirrors of our inner state, reflecting truths that can bring clarity, healing, or even stir inner conflict. But here's the hard truth. Not every powerful connection is meant to last. The unconscious doesn't care about keeping us comfortable. It's here to help us grow. And growth often comes wrapped in discomfort. Sometimes the people who move us the most are the ones who trigger our deepest wounds. They're not here to settle in. They're here to wake us up. Such people are catalysts. They pull to the surface what we've ignored, forgotten, or locked away, whether it's pain, admiration, or disappointment. In doing so, they guide us back to the neglected parts of ourselves, the ones we've avoided or undervalued. Jung believed that within every person we meet lives a shadow, an unfiltered reflection of both our darkness and our light. The stronger our emotional reaction to someone, the greater the potential for transformation. Recognizing a meaningful connection doesn't always mean holding on to it. Sometimes the real work isn't in keeping that person close, but in understanding why they came into our life and then letting them go when it's time. Because in the end, the purpose of these encounters isn't to complete us with someone else. It's to awaken the wholeness that's been inside us all along. And the deepest, most enduring connection we will ever create is the one we forge with ourselves. When the unconscious speaks through patterns, if you keep finding yourself in the same painful situations, abandonment, partners who can't meet you emotionally, endless cycles of conflict, Carl Jung wouldn't call it bad luck or just the way things are. He'd say, this isn't fate. This is your unconscious speaking in its own language. The human psyche is wired for wholeness. And until the patterns buried in our unconscious are brought into the light, we're destined to replay them again and again, like a stage play with the same script, hoping somehow for a different ending. That's why some dynamics feel painfully familiar. You're not cursed. You're being shown exactly where the wound still lives. If you grew up feeling unseen or unheard, you may unconsciously be drawn to people in adulthood who dismiss your needs, not because you enjoy the pain, but because your psyche is attempting to revisit that original injury, understand it, and finally close the loop. But here's the catch. As long as the wound stays unconscious, the pattern stays alive. Awareness isn't just helpful, it's the doorway to freedom. Until you identify the root, you'll keep mistaking symptoms for causes. You'll call it bad timing, karma, or just my type, when in reality, it's your inner world reflecting back at you in the form of unresolved beliefs. And the moment you face it, truly see it, you gain the power not just to rewrite the relationship dynamic, but to rewrite yourself. Because healing isn't about escaping the pattern, it's about transforming the part of you that created it. True transformation starts within. Real change begins the moment you stop chasing the right person and start turning the mirror toward yourself. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to show me about myself?" Every connection, especially the painful, confusing ones, is an invitation to look beneath the surface, to uncover your needs, fears, and blind spots. This isn't about self-blame. It's not about shaming yourself or absolving others. It's about understanding, because once you understand, you have choice. And with choice comes the power to stop acting from old wounds and start acting from new awareness. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The real work then isn't in finding the perfect person. It's in becoming the kind of person who can recognize, accept, and sustain a healthy connection. When you truly know yourself, your strengths, your flaws, your worth, you'll recognize your person, not because they fill an emptiness, but because they meet you in your wholeness. It won't feel like dependency, it will feel like harmony. Not the repetition of an old wound, but the closing of it. And in that space, love stops being a search for completion and becomes the celebration of two whole people choosing to walk together. Becoming the person who attracts your person. Carl Jung believed that the path of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming your true self, is the foundation for every healthy, lasting relationship. When you're fragmented, you attract people who mirror that fragmentation. When you're whole, you naturally attract from that wholeness. This isn't just a nice metaphor, it's a psychological, emotional, and even energetic truth. Many people are searching for their person without first becoming the kind of person who could recognize them. They ask, "Why do I keep attracting people who don't value me?" But the more powerful question is, do I truly value myself? As long as you carry an inner sense of lack, you'll unconsciously seek out people who reinforce it. But when you shift your relationship with yourself, when you start honoring your worth, the entire world begins to respond differently. The people who once seemed irresistible lose their grip on you. You stop chasing others to give you what you've denied yourself. You tune into a different frequency, and new aligned connections begin to appear. Quietly, naturally, without force. This isn't magic or fate, it's alignment. It's what happens when you stop letting others write your story and begin speaking from your own voice, your own wholeness. You stop entering relationships out of hunger and start entering them out of fullness, out of choice, out of clarity, out of an abundance that wants to share itself. That's why the real meeting with your person begins long before they ever walk into your life. It begins with meeting yourself, with owning your wounds, understanding your needs, integrating your shadow, and preparing not just to be loved, but to love consciously. Not because you're afraid of being alone, but because you've learned to be complete within yourself. And from that place, love is no longer a search for someone to fill the void. It's the joy of finding someone who matches the fullness you already carry. Synchronicity or projection, learning the difference. There's a subtle but crucial distinction we have to make. Don't confuse synchronicity with projection. When you feel an intense pull toward someone, whether it's instant attraction, admiration, or a sense of destiny, pause and ask yourself, is this a true moment of alignment? Or am I projecting my own unmet needs, hidden dreams, or unacknowledged fears onto them? Carl Jung put it simply, When we are unaware of certain qualities in ourselves, we tend to attribute them to others. If you've ever been magnetized by someone's confidence, charm, or vitality, there's a chance you've actually disowned those same qualities within yourself. What you were drawn to wasn't entirely them. It was the reflection of a part of you haven't yet embraced. In moments like this, you're not truly seeing the person. You're seeing a canvas your unconscious has painted with your shadow, or even your light. The danger comes when the illusion inevitably cracks. When the person fails to live up to the ideal you've projected, the pull can turn into deep disappointment, not because they've changed, but because you never actually saw who they were in the first place. Learning to tell the difference between synchronicity and projection isn't about killing the magic of connection. It's about making sure the magic you feel is real, not just a reflection of your own unclaimed self. How to recognize a real connection. A real connection doesn't sweep you into chaos or keep you living in a constant state of anxiety. It's not about endless chasing, overthinking, or working yourself to exhaustion just to feel enough. A real connection grounds you. It gives you peace instead of panic, clarity instead of confusion, a quiet, steady confidence that doesn't need constant reassurance. In the presence of the right person, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. You feel fully present, fully accepted, fully whole. You don't shrink to fit, and you don't perform to impress. You simply are, and that's enough. That's the difference. Infatuation ignites adrenaline. A real connection nurtures your soul. Intuition doesn't lie. One of Carl Jung's most underrated teachings was about the power of intuition. He believed the unconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks through feelings, through subtle emotional currents that run beneath the surface of logic. Think about it. Have you ever ignored that quiet, persistent sense that something was off? Stayed in a relationship despite the gnawing discomfort, convincing yourself you were just too sensitive? But deep down, your body knew. It always knew. That was your intuition speaking. When someone is truly right for you, your nervous system isn't on high alert. You're not over-analyzing every text or conversation. You're not waiting for the other shoe to drop just because things feel good. Instead, there's a sense of calm, lightness, effortless presence. Not passion that burns you up, but warmth that holds you. That's the truth. A real connection rarely shouts, it whispers. And if you've done the inner work to quiet your fears and insecurities, you'll hear that whisper clearly, because it will rise from within you, not from the outside world. Love is not a battlefield. One of the most destructive modern myths is the belief that love has to be turbulent to be real, that wild highs and crushing lows are somehow proof of passion. But Carl Jung would remind us, chaos is not connection. Struggle is not proof of depth. If love constantly feels like a fight, it's worth asking yourself, am I fighting for love, or am I fighting for proof that I'm worthy of it? Real love doesn't demand that you betray yourself. It doesn't thrive on power struggles, drama, or the exhausting gymnastics of trying to keep someone close. The person who is truly yours will never require you to shrink in order to fit into their life. They'll create space for you to expand into your fullest, most authentic self. Because the right love isn't a battlefield, it's a home. Letting go to make space. Here's one of the hardest truths. Many people say they're searching for their person, yet they're still clinging to someone who has already shown clearly that they're not it. They hold on. They make excuses, they hope for change, but the months turn into years and nothing truly shifts. Carl Jung would have put it plainly, you cannot grow in barren soil. If a relationship only brings pain, it's not a test of your strength, it's a message from your unconscious. It's telling you that you're still trying to heal through suffering. And until you see this, you'll keep mistaking persistence for loyalty and pain for love. Letting go isn't weakness, it's maturity. It's the choice to stop betraying yourself for the sake of a false connection. When you finally choose peace over chaos, something changes. You open a space inside your life and inside yourself. And into that space comes the one who truly is for you. Not because you searched harder, chased longer, or fought more, but because you stopped settling for less than what you deserve. How you'll know they're truly yours? You'll know, not because they're flawless or check every box on your list, but because being with them never requires you to abandon yourself. Their presence brings peace, not pressure. You feel seen, understood, inspired, yet never overwhelmed. The connection doesn't demand constant proof or reassurance. It simply is. You won't be chasing clarity. It will be there from the very first moment. A quiet confidence. A natural sense of alignment that asks for nothing but honesty. So instead of asking, is this person right for me? Ask, am I true to myself in this relationship? Because here's the truth, once you become fully yourself, whole, unhidden, unapologetic, the people meant for you will never pass you by. They'll recognize you instantly, just as clearly as you recognize them, and that recognition isn't fireworks. It's a deep exhale. It's home. Final thoughts. It all begins with you. Carl Jung once said, the most important journey is the journey inward. When you choose to face your shadow, to heal, to grow, to become whole, you begin to resonate on a different frequency. The connections that once gripped you start to lose their hold. You no longer feel at home in what drains you. And without forcing, without chasing, new connections appear, naturally, effortlessly, because you've become aligned with them. You don't have to beg for clarity. You don't have to prove your worth. You simply know when something is right. And when the real connection arrives, it won't feel like a lightning strike or a fairy tale. It will feel like truth, like home. If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your story. Are you still walking the path of becoming, or have you already experienced that undeniable meeting that can't be mistaken for anything else? Remember, you deserve the best in your life, in your thoughts, in the company you keep. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to The Eternal Wisdom and follow us on Telegram. Thank you for watching.